Okay, we're today on the 5-Minute Bark, and we've got Dr. Marty Fallor with us here today. And why do we bring Dr. Marty Fallor on the show today as well? This guy owns the room. Everywhere he goes, he just loves people, and he's got a lot to share today about that. So today on the 5-Minute Bark, we're going to be talking more about getting outside your comfort zone. And we had a few episodes on that before, but I thought there was no one better than having Marty Fallor here today. Say hello, everybody, Marty.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning to the viewership of the 5-Minute Bark. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here. When you had asked me about this a couple of weeks back, I was very excited and very pleased that we were able to do that finally today. So thank you for having me this morning.
Thanks for coming on. And this is going to be a great episode, I'm sure. We're going to really dig into some really fun stuff on the show here today. And I know you have a lot to share. But first, let's share about you and who you are. And obviously, you're a doctor and a lover of cars. You've got a Rolls Royce, you've got a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, which looked very nice the other day at the car show. And tell us, everybody, about you.
Yes, well, I grew up back in New York. I've been out here in California since I finished medical school back east. I trained in ophthalmology, eye surgery originally, and then specialized or subspecialized in eyelid plastic surgery. So all that training was done out here at UCLA. And as it turned out, my practice focus was so narrow, I was able to get the toll-free number 1-800-EYELIDS, reflecting just how narrow my specialty was.
So not only you're a doctor, you're a marketer.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. It was actually, originally I thought it would be a good idea to have people distinguish me from other people that did all sorts of plastic surgery, so that people knew who I was in the community. If they saw that phone number, they would know not to call me for a nose job or liposuction or et cetera. It was pretty clear what I did based on the phone number alone.
It's so important to be narrow in everything we do nowadays, and it's very smart that you even realize that I need to narrow down to what I do. And because if you're doing so many different surgeries, you seem like you're going to make more money, but you're actually not, because you're so all over the place, so to speak. That was smart that you narrowed down.
You know what? That is so insightful of you. I mean, I think that's in anything. People, you need to get your car serviced. You're not going to take the Ferrari to the Rolls dealer, or vice versa. You're going to bring it to somebody that specializes in that one area. That seems to be implicitly known by everybody. And yet people still ask me, well, who's a good plastic surgeon? And my response is always, for which procedure?
Exactly.
I recommend some people for lipo, some people for eyelid surgery, some people for facelifts. And sometimes they're the same people. There's some very multi-talented surgeons that I have had the privilege of working with. But more often than not, people have their own strengths. And just as you found in your own career, I found in my career, the narrower the better. Mm-hmm. If I'm having my eyelids done, I'd rather go to someone like myself than someone who does a really good nose job. Yep. I don't really care about a nose job. I just want the guy that does a good job on the eyelid surgery.
That's right.
And that's pretty much it. If I need to have something else, then I'll go from there. But yeah, that was what I did find. And I felt also, I often have these discussions with some of my patients when I have time to speak with them, is that there's an element too of really personal devotion and your own ego involvement and investment. When you have just one thing, you better do it right every single time. There's no margin for error. If you're doing a bunch of different things, say, well, I'm sort of okay at this one. Yeah, I'm good enough. No, when it comes to surgery, you really got to be the best you can possibly be. And when it comes to almost anything in life, there's a joy in owning what you do and really feeling that this is something that you've got covered, rather than trying to cover the waterfront. Just as you said,
I'm a big proponent of that. Very big. Like everybody's like, oh, let's go ski fishing. This. I like to be a golfer, and I like to do what I do. I like being the best at something versus spreading out all over the place.
Right, and reaching sort of like I used to call it a journeyman level versus an expert.
Right.
There's something cool. Even if no one else appreciates it, inside you know that that's the thing that you do, and you put your all into it.
I want to rewind you back because, I mean, obviously you've become successful. You've got a house. You live in one of the finest cities in the country, Rancho Santa Fe. You've got beautiful cars. You've got a beautiful life, beautiful woman life. Everything is just there. It's and you've earned it. But what started you on this path to this success that you've had in your life? I mean, you're successful in everything you do. I mean, that's exciting, and that's something everybody's looking for is how do I get that instinct, that intuition to start? In other words, what's that moment in your life that you said, I am going to be a surgeon and I'm going to be good at it?
I get that that question quite frequently. In fact, I was at Cake Nightclub the other evening, and I was speaking to one of the hosts over there. He said, "Can we sit down for coffee or for lunch when I just want to hear your story?" So this is a good way of getting out to more than just one occasional
there you
person.
Go. We're going to help you out here.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. I'll just have people. I'll refer them to the podcast. Just look at the 5-minute bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It tells the whole story.
This is your chance to shine the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe to try to help people. And I guess that's maybe where it all comes from, is that growing up, I enjoyed helping out my friends. I'd find that if someone would just call me randomly, I would speak with them. But I liked the idea of when someone would call me that needed something. Somehow that ability to be of service was very attractive to me. So when I was applying for medical school, one of the things I thought of is that, why do you want to be a doctor? I think it's the most intimate, most special way of helping somebody, and surgery even more so. I was probably attracted to the glam and glitter of plastic surgery in general,
right.
But going back to what now is what I realize how I am, my personality, I'd rather know everything about a little bit than a little bit about everything.
Right.
So ophthalmology, eye surgery really afforded that opportunity. So somewhere in middle of medical school days, that's what I decided I wanted to focus on. One area that had both a cosmetic and appearance advantage and improvement, but also a functional one, because oftentimes my surgery had a functional component.
Okay, so just like you, I want to narrow down to that. I want to see if you may not even know that, but maybe we're going to find it out here today in that show. What's that literal moment, that minutes or second or half hour of your life that made you like, you know what I mean? You like get that energy in your body that says, this is where I go from here.
It was probably my very first.
I'll give you an example just to help
please,
you go in
ahead.
this line.
Yeah, thank
One
you.
of my guests is he's starting one of the most amazing companies. It's going to be similar to Uber. He's going to be a billionaire. And I asked him the same question. He said, Dennis, it started at the dumpster when I was selling a couch. He found a couch in the dumpster and he went and put it on eBay. And that's the first thing he ever sold in his life. And it just, from there, it went on. So I'm looking for that like very moment that Marty Fallor decided that I'm going to just go from being regular to living the life you live now.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does. Thank you for laying that groundwork. For me, I owe everything that I have to my practice, to my medical practice, my surgical practice. The turning point for me was my very first case, which I did by myself when I was still in training. The way things generally worked at a teaching hospital like UCLA is that you'd often start a case, and then your teacher, your preceptor, the attending would take over, or the reverse would occur. They would start it and you would finish it. Well, this one day, my attending was running a bit late. He said, well, why don't you just go ahead and start the case, and I'll be there when I get there. I had done probably dozens of beginnings and dozens of ends and dozens of middles, but I hadn't done an entire case. So I started the case, and okay, I'll probably be here any time now. And then a few minutes later, okay, any time now. No, it took about 35 minutes. They were very, very quick surgeries.
Right.
And before we knew it, I was putting in the last suture, and the attending showed up. And to be frank, I was very pleased with the result. I said, okay, I think this is my niche. I think this could work for me. And in fact, I had the picture of that same woman in my before and after book for years after that.
Wow.
And it was actually but it wasn't my first one entirely. It was my first one based on, again, dozens of beginnings, dozens of ends, and dozens of middles. When I first went to get a position after my residency, I actually chose to join a group down here in San Diego, which actually what had brought me down here. As time went on, I expanded my practice to 14 different locations throughout California, but I made my home here in San Diego. So with that, what I realized when I joined my first group, I was just one of three people. We had two locations, one in La Jolla, one in Vista. But I was only operating one day a week. And I thought, you know what? I can do better than this if I just go out on my own. And somehow I decided to take that leap of faith. And that leap of faith, that attitude towards life, I think that maybe sums up how you get to that next level and continue to the next level after that, is that have that leap of faith in yourself, knowing, of course, it's going to take work. It's not going to be easy, but but focus on that, and make that your goal. That you're going to be better than you were yesterday. You'll be better tomorrow than you are today. But always look to make yourself better, not at the expense of others. I'm a big believer in. I'm not in competition with anybody. I want everyone to succeed. I just want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah. So now moving into like why I have you on the show here today. And obviously you're successful and we're all excited about that. You're excited about it. It's just amazing. But you're also very successful at meeting people and going outside your comfort zone. Or maybe there's no such thing as a comfort zone for you because you're not afraid to talk to anybody. And one of the things I wanted to point out today on the show is you're very articulate. For example, I saw a Facebook post the other day and you were going to Cake Nightclub and usually most of us would just say, yeah, I went to Cake Nightclub. It was great. But your post was, I went to Cake, it was very descriptive. It was very distinct in what you're saying. And you're very good at that in talking to people. And then you don't just say, hi, this is Dennis. Meet Sally Sue. You're just, Dennis is this. Where did you learn that that's a very important thing to do?
I think it developed over a couple of years when I started in practice, and I started with these multiple offices and multiple locations. I was interacting with so many staff and so many new patients every week. I almost felt I had to do it. I started doing seminars, the same way people that fear of public speaking.
Yep.
No different. I had that same thing, but it became necessary. And so in a certain way, they would say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
In my own inventing of myself as a person, part of that became implicit in how I was going to be relating to the world.
Right.
Meet people, try to remember something about them. And you're right. One of the things that I started doing just the last couple of years was I meet new people. I ask them to spell their names. Now, if it's something simple like, Bill.
And also, my next question is, how do you remember all these names?
Yeah.
Because you go in a room and you know everybody's name. And it might take you a little bit to get their name, but you get it,
Right. It does take me sometimes. I got to think about it for a bit, and then it'll come back. But one thing I found very helpful is spelling. And I remember when I started doing this, I was in Cabo San Lucas, and I was at some presentation for a timeshare or something. I had nothing to do, and it was free breakfast and a free whale watching things. Okay, whatever. I was there by myself and no real plans. Okay, I'll get a free breakfast and a whale watching thing. I'll listen to a presentation. Yeah. And the gal who was presenting, her name was Erica. And I thought, I wonder how am I going to be able to remember her name the whole morning. So I said, how do you spell that? With a C or with a K? Both. I said, okay, great. Okay. Now, that was almost like the turning point because I started doing that with people. Somebody's not guessing. Like I met somebody on Saturday named Sonia. Was it with a J or with a Y? So no, with an I. Okay, well, yeah, I blew through the three. I got two of the wrong ones. But what I often say is that I may not remember the spelling sometime later when I see that person. But I remember having asked about the spelling, and then that'll help me bring at least the name back to me. And I just find it's nice when people remember my name when I've seen them. I guess that's what we sort of emulate the things and try to reproduce the things that make us feel good.
Right.
And when I see somebody I haven't seen for a while and they know me by name, if I don't know theirs, I feel awful.
Right.
So it's
the same way.
It's almost like a defense mechanism against feeling awful that I want to try to remember people's names because I know.
Do you hear that, audience? It's a defense mechanism
from feeling bad. Sometimes like a negative stimulus is more.
And that happens to me all the time. I mean, I feel so stupid when I don't know this person. I knew their name. I slipped on it, and I was, oh my God. I love how you said that. It's a defense mechanism about not feeling bad,
Exactly. And it does feel good. And that's another thing, too, that I think I try to find in my interactions with people at these different events is that it's fun to meet new people. It's probably the one thing overall, over everything else that I miss most about not practicing any longer. As you know, I stopped practicing a few years ago. I blew a couple of discs in my neck, so it's an issue with a couple of fingers, but enough that I didn't feel comfortable practicing any longer.
Right.
So what I find now is that's been that void in my life has been filled with going to events, meeting new people, and that's I think what actually drives me, because I'm out most every night. I have the occasional Monday off, but pretty much every other night there's something going on. I love going out, love meeting new people, but I do enjoy going to places where I know at least a couple. It used to keep me from downtown. San Diego all the time. I thought, I'm not going to know anybody. I can't go downtown. Right. We threw a big house parties that you were very much involved with a couple of years back. Met lots and lots of people. Ended up with a fine from my HOA, but it was worth it. I'd do it all over again. But I met so many more people that I could go downtown, and I might not know more than a handful, but I knew a handful. Right. And from there I could go. And there's that other aspect of the being in a room and seeing maybe another person that clearly doesn't know anybody and somewhat awkward. And you go up and you befriend that person. Hi, my name is Marty. What's your name? Have you been here before, etc.? Guy, girl, whatever. Just some other person that you can somehow align with for that evening, and maybe even grow a friendship beyond that. And that's happened countless times for me.
Okay, so for me, I still struggle with interaction and networking, or at a restaurant or anywhere. I'm just afraid. I don't know. I'm afraid to make that initial contact because I feel like I'm wasting their time, or I'm bothering them, or maybe they just don't want to talk to me. How do you convince a person like myself to not have those thoughts? I mean, right away, I'm just hearing myself say this, and I'm like, well, that's why, because you're thinking these thoughts. And
right, of course.
What is your thought process when you're about to, you see somebody, maybe it's a cute girl or a gentleman you want to introduce to somebody, or to just talk to and have a great conversation? What do you do to block all that out of the way? Or maybe you never had that in the first place, so you don't know where I'm coming from. What do you do to just kind of clear the space and invite that person into your life?
You know what? One thing I think is to recognize that most people, in fact, the vast majority, probably feel exactly the way you do. That they're somewhat embarrassed, or they're somewhat self-conscious about approaching another person. At least that's my sort of working hypothesis, because I believe I was like that too. You know, I'd see somebody interesting, I'd want to meet some successful surgeon, or an attractive young lady, or somebody along those lines that I don't know right now, but they're only 10 feet away. All it's going to take is a brief opener. Right. And so with I guess for me, I had enough misses where I missed the opportunity of speaking to that guy, or speaking to that surgeon, speaking to that woman, that it started to grate on my nerves. I said, this is ridiculous. All it takes is just a heartfelt compliment about something that they're wearing, something that they just said if it was at a meeting, etc. And I just think it takes practice. And I find people, if you just do it, it'll be positively reinforced over and over again, that after a while it just becomes second nature. Right. I was at an event just last week for Fine Magazine. They had a tequila tasting thing after the Pacific Classic at the Del Mar Plaza. And I was with a friend, and she said, well, I really like the way this girl is dressed, you know, with her belt and the jeans and the scarf, etc. I said, why don't you just tell her? I said, no, I don't want to bother her. I said, believe me, see what happens. And she still didn't do it, and we ended up, the four of us, in the same conversational circle, and I did it for her. I said, you know, my friend here thinks the world of the way you're put together, and just want to let you know that. Her response was great. She said, thank you so much. You know, it made my evening. And, you know, you do enough of those things, or someone said, thank you for the compliment, or whatever it was, a pleasure meeting you, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, or self-fulfilling. Right. And you'll find, again, the more that you do it, the more comfortable you get. But it isn't easy. I think maybe if people recognize that, some people have it, some people don't. No, I think we all have to do that, because we're all tend to be a little self-conscious. We're our own worst critics. Yep. I hope I'm dressed okay. I hope my makeup's on fleek. You know, all those kinds of things. And yet, you know what? People are thinking the same thing about themselves. If you just go ahead and get past that on yourself and just say, I want to have an interaction with this person. I'm hoping that what I say, or what our interaction will be, the end result was that person will feel a little bit better about themselves, and it rubs off back on you too. Right. I think for the vast majority, again, if not everybody, it's hard not to feel a little better about yourself when you made somebody else feel better about themselves.
Yes.
So
that's awesome. Okay, so there's two sides to the picture here. Is that you've gotten the, I guess, balls to go up and talk to a person, and now you're trying to engage with them, and you're getting, obviously you're scattered, and like, how do you reach for subjects? So you seem like you really have great subjects. Do they just come naturally? Do you kind of see that person and see where they're going. I mean, obviously you started out maybe with learning how to spell their names. That's an easy one. That's
Right.
very non-confrontational.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
interest. That's
Yes,
interest.
right.
And it's honest, and from there, what comes in your mind to get conversations going? Like, do you talk about,
and that's a great question because
most people go, oh, what do you do for work? And a lot of people don't want to talk about that maybe.
Right. There
But
is
some people really do.
Yeah, right. And it depends because when I was still working, I was so focused. I didn't know anything else about life.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'd go to a party and someone would excuse me, hey, I hate to bother you, but would mind if I ask a medical question? I said, please, I have nothing else to talk about. I don't know what's going on in the world, so don't bring up, political issues or sports or anything. I have no clue. But yes, my practice, everything you want to know about, I'll probably chew your ear off for 20 minutes just to be able to talk to somebody. I don't know anything. Yeah. But one of the things that I found, sort of on the heels of the asking the spelling of someone's name, and it happens to be the truth about me, I'm much more of a visual learner than I am an auditory learner.
Here, yeah.
And I'll often share that. After I've had somebody spell their names, I said, thank you. I said, I have a better chance to remember if I visualize the spelling. Obviously, you've given it to me verbally, but I'm actually putting a picture in my mind of it, and it'll stick. And again,
that's what would work for me.
Yeah, and so then, a visual learner. Well, from there you can go to and I remember when I went to medical school, I went to class, I went to the lectures and everything else. And I had some friends that actually would never go to class. They would just get the typed up notes and just study at home. And it was they were actually of two different groups: either the very brightest and best students in the class, or the very laziest partiers of the class. There were no in the middle, the extremes.
Yeah.
But what I found was when I finally went to law school later on is that I probably should have been in that group, just stayed home, because I'd sit in the lectures and I would grasp it to some degree, but I really learned it when I was looking at those notes at home. When I went to law school many years later, sort of a lark actually, I thought I had this great entrepreneurial idea that something wonderful would arise out of having an MD and a JD degree, something entrepreneurial and world shaking. I'm here to say it didn't happen. I went back. I mean, I never left my practice, but I never really pursued the law thing. It was an interesting learning experience, and that's all I can say. But it was really clear to me that was very much true of me, is that I was much more of a visual learner. So I'd miss class, but I would still have the written word to look at. So that would be maybe the opener after getting someone to spell their name, or someone who might be an auditory learner and say, you know what, I'm an auditory learner. Either way, and I still wanted to hear them spell the name so you can remember it better. Again, for me, so strongly a visual, that's basically my explanation. And then at that point, how do you know the host? Basically like living in the moment. Yep. To some degree, no matter what somebody does for work, chances are they're not doing it at the event. Right. They're not doing it over at Searsucker. Right. They're not doing it over at Basement. They're not doing it over at Cake. Omnia Park. Yep. They're having a good time. So let's not bring work in. Yeah. I felt very fortunate with my own work because I really loved it. So I didn't mind talking about it. Yeah. But some people don't, and some people are still working on that career that's going to be really making them happy. But for the sake of those that aren't, let's not go on a subject that might not be the coolest. So again, do you know other people here? That's another thing you talk about, because sometimes you'll say, I'm here with a group of people. I know almost everybody. This is really cool. Or I'm here by myself. I really don't know too many people, but I saw the ad, or someone had invited me who's still not here yet. But you seem like an interesting person I wanted to just chat with.
Yep.
And pets, interests, hobbies, those things. Maybe there's something that they're wearing that sort of screams, dog lover, or tennis or golf, or something that's pretty obvious. I don't mean like golf shoes with spikes, but
looking at their clothes.
Yeah, something that have a pin or something that they're wearing that suggests an interest that they might have, or even just the fact that they're really well put together. What I do this all the time when I see guys wearing shirts or jackets I like. So what a cool jacket. Do you mind if I ask you what who the designer is? And again, that's a flattering thing, and it's also helpful for me because I may want to go check that designer out. I'll see Marcus Hanna shirts out there. I'll see Maceo shirts out there, and hey. And then after a while, I get to recognize them. You'll say a little with a wink, "That's a Maceo shirt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or that's a Marcus Hanna shirt, isn't it?"
More conversation.
Exactly. It's you ever been to a shop? I know the guy personally. He's really cool. Well, those kinds of things.
Right.
But something that whatever within your comfort zone, because you've already done the heavy lifting by getting out of your comfort zone by just saying hi.
Right.
And so wherever goes after that, be patting yourself on the back. I just did it. I just did it. I just
Yeah.
said hi to somebody I didn't know. Wow. Marty was right. It doesn't feel that bad.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm in the box.
And wherever it leads, maybe it leads nowhere.
Yeah.
That's fine too. But you keep on doing it, it won't. Eventually, it will lead somewhere. Maybe a friendship or a circle of new friends or something. I have so many like that.
And it almost circles back to like what you said about your surgery. You did beginnings, you did ends, you did middles, and it's the same thing with meeting people. It's you do your beginnings, you say your highs, and we always know how to say goodbye, but the middles, and just tying it all together, and just practicing all three, and then having them come together, just like it happened with you in surgery.
Right. And if you are around people like myself that have sort of gotten past that sort of that out of comfort zone thing, is feel free to come to people like us if you see us talking to somebody that you want to meet.
Yep.
And they'll say, Dennis, this is my friend Dennis, web designer, Cody Dog Interactive, has the 5-minute bark now. This is my new friend so-and-so.
Right. And bring him in.
And she does this or he does that. And all of a sudden, everybody is involved in the conversation. That would be a middle. Or see somebody sort of closing up a conversation. Yep. Feel free to come in on that one too.
I'll do that a lot too now, is I'll bring in other people I don't even know and just bring them into the conversation. And
yes, and I'll do that too. I think it happened not too long ago with you and I at Searsucker. We were just there and hanging out, and there was a guy clearly just by himself, and I just brought him in the conversation. We became friends.
Yeah, you know him forever.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, so we're already running out of time. We're already over time, believe it or not.
Time goes fast.
I know. I try to tell people it flies by, but I wanted to leave with 3 tips we can give at least somebody to take away from this conversation here today. 3 tips, and I think we've already kind of outlined it, but maybe we'll summarize them here in the end. So if you could give 3 tips to somebody like me who's just wanting to own the room, wanting to get outside the comfort zone and meeting people out there in public, what are those 3 tips, Marty?
Okay, I'd say number one would be know that everybody feels the way you do. If you're a little feeling uncomfortable or self-conscious, that's going to represent most everybody who's going to be in that room. So don't ever forget that number 1 point. Yeah. On the heels of that, the number 2 is don't be afraid to say hi to somebody. Don't be afraid to share that compliment or a question about something that they're doing or wearing or something that will hopefully lead to somebody feeling a little bit better because they met you that day.
Right.
And move from that standpoint of a position of strength, knowing you have the power to maybe make someone feel just a little bit better that evening, that day, because you do.
You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to that person, actually. If they don't know you and you have something that can help them in their life, we almost owe it to them. We owe the people in that room to talk to them.
Exactly. And the last thing is that it's a quote from Maya Angelou, a poet that was made famous, I think, primarily by her involvement with Oprah Winfrey a number of years ago. And although it contradicts to some degree what we're saying here, but not altogether, is people will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so the actual literal words.
Can you say that one more time?
Yes, for sure.
For everybody to listen.
People will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
That's awesome.
And now it seems contrary to the other point of saying hi to somebody and using your words, but it really isn't. Your words aren't that important in the overall scheme of things. The fact that you would have interacted with somebody, they'll forget the exact conversation, but if you can make them feel a little bit better about themselves for having had that interaction, score.
Yep.
Score. Brass ring achieved.
Awesome. Marty, thank you so much for coming on the show
thank
today.
you for having me. What a pleasure. What a
this
pleasure.
Has been absolutely amazing. And it wasn't that hard, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I got a bunch more things I want to share with you.
I know.
We could
talk forever, but people don't listen that long. And
no, of course.
Maybe we can even do another one. And,
that would be great. I'd look forward to it.
Yeah,
I'd look forward to it.
We'll go on to another subject, and we have plenty we can talk about with you. But I've been fighting really hard to keep these things below 20 minutes when we're now at 30 minutes.
Oh, no. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's not your fault. It's just we had a great conversation. So
yes.
5-minute bark, we had Dr. Marty Fallor here today on our show, and I hope you learned something. I know I did. It was inspirational for me, and I hope it was inspirational for you. So, again, thank you for chiming in with us here today, and Marty, thanks again for coming on the show.
I appreciate being here, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye to everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Download my ebook for free today and learn all the important secrets to make your website shine. Learn how to rank your website in Google in a matter of days. Also learn how to use Facebook to your advantage by creating interesting posts, great, vibrant business pages. And we'll teach you how to utilize private Facebook groups to educate and update your clients at a moment's notice. So if you're ready to take your business to a new level, download this free ebook today and learn more about the web than you've ever known before. Sign up today and use this platform to create massive change in your life. In order to create massive change, you need a dream. Within the Cody Dog Interactive platform, we've created a vision board where you can allow yourself to grow and dream and put the things you really want into your life in this vision board. From there, the next step is to go and make goals. We create a great place for you to set up those goals and set up tasks to achieve those goals. From there, then we need accountability. We've created a great way for you to be accountable to yourself and all the actions you have right here in the Cody Dog Interactive platform. If you're looking to create massive change in your life, Cody Dog Interactive has created a platform and a community for you to do just that. So sign up today and hold yourself accountable for that massive change you've been looking for.